Hi, and thanks for joining us on another great edition of Two Guys and a Lot of Wine. I'm Bobby P.
And I'm Rocky Holland.
And Rocky, we are going to be doing something out of almost the 10 years of doing the show we have never done, even though we've done a lot of bubble shows.
What would that be, Bobby?
That is sparkling wines under $10.
Can you believe it, West Hartford?
Yes, and good stuff. Well, I'm hoping it's good stuff. Some of it is good that we've had. And it's one of the things that people don't think you can get good sparkling for under $10, and we know that's not true. We know that's not true.
You got to know how to hunt.
And
I've had bad ones under 10. I've had good ones under 10.
That is true.
We will find out soon.
We wanted to stay away from Cook's and Andre. That's sparkling, but that's not the kind of stuff we generally do on the show.
Yeah, everybody knows the overly commercialized ones.
Overly commercialized. We wanted to find stuff that is still available locally. It's off the beaten path, and it looks good on the table if you're going to entertain a lot of people or just a few people, and you don't want to have the commercial stuff on the table.
And as we know, sparkling wine is one of the most versatile wines that you can have. So
Absolutely.
Find a sparkling wine for $10 or less and entertain the whole family, what more could you ask for, Bobby?
That's right, and these are legitimately under $10. Theirs might push it up to 10, but these are legitimate. So I think Rocky's first choice for this evening
This was not Rocky's choice. This is my lovely wife,
This
Sandy,
is the Sandy choice.
That we never get anything other than incredibly dry wines on here. And so she said, you know what, just for this once, we're going to bring this is not really sweet. This is Moscato d'Asti. So everybody's heard of, barefoot Moscato and the Muscat grape, and it's known for being a very. I just poured myself way too much.
But that's okay. We have a pour glass over here. This happened the other night on the show, by the way. We had a large pour.
This will be our dump glass. So if I'm going to over pour, it's not going to be the Moscato d'Asti. So Bobby, you wisely went ahead and took care of your own glass there.
I already have flute envy. I mean, your flute is taller than mine.
It's not the size of the flute. It's how well the bubbles effervesce.
And I should say that
Makes no sense whatsoever.
I haven't had much Moscato d'Asti.
I could not tell you the last time I had Moscato at all. But, why don't we jump right in and see if this is
and it is labeled a sweet white wine, right? It just doesn't label
Moscato is typically going to be a floral bomb. It's typically going to be a fruit bomb, kind of tropical. They sell it in, they grow it in places like the Loire in France. They make a lot of it in California. I believe this is from France. No, this is from Asti, so that would be.
It's Italian. I believe that's you said that was an Italian one.
So, the Muscat grape is going to, Muscat Petit Grand is where it comes from. Originally, I believe, in the Loire in France, but Moscato in Italy is kind of where the American consumer loves their Moscato. It is I believe Barefoot Moscato is the #1 most popular wine in America, which
astounding.
People love that sweet wine, though.
I don't know where you could drink that much of this kind of sweet wine without literally getting sick. But I'm going to tell you right off the bat, this does have a sweetness to it. It's not an unpleasant sweetness. Could I drink a lot of that on a hot day or maybe a cool summer night, cool fall night? I don't think so.
I have to admit, I'm wincing because I don't hate it. I was expecting to hate it. Bobby, I wanted to hate it.
I did too.
I don't hate it.
I did too.
What is going on?
There's a pleasantness to this. There's a little
still alive. Yep.
A little refreshness to it. There's a little pleasantness. And once you get past that first sweet kick, and even though there is a sweet kick, it's not what I would call an overly powerful sweet kick.
This is definitely not something that I could drink more than a glass because it's just a little bit too potent. It's a little bit too sweet for me. It is very floral, and it's really not that sparkly as far as it's not like champagne level of sparkle. It's just got a little bit of tingle to it, which is probably why it came in a screw cap.
Like a frisé, right?
Frizzante. Yeah, and that is what they would call it in Italy, I guess. I'm just noticing the bottle here. It's 5.5% alcohol by volume. So you're talking about, some of your IPAs are north of 6% these days. So we're talking about something that would rival beer in the alcohol content, but it would rival any Moscato that I've ever tasted in the sweetness content. So.
Well, what's interesting, because it is so popular, Moscato is so popular, this might be a big hit for a lot of people who like that type of flavor. This also might be good for making sangria or some other type of mixed drink that's usually made with a champagne or a sparkling type wine. On its own, like you said, I agree with you. I don't think I could have more than one glass of this. Though I'm going to give it the old salty potato chip, pretzel, or popcorn taste to see if that works. And I think we've talked about this before. Anytime you have champagne bubbles, even the inexpensive stuff, it goes great with anything salty. That's going to sound great on the microphone.
Yeah, right.
And it does. It tempers that sweetness right out.
Yeah, a little bit, not much, but.
But it makes it a little bit more, and palatable is not the right term, because it is a good tasting wine for what it is.
This is not, we're talking about, we wanted to do a show dealing with summer wines, things that you would reach for in the summer. This is something that I think if you were having a Thanksgiving meal and you had the people in the family that are known to drink barefoot moscato, but you wanted to kind of have something that's a little more food friendly of a wine, this would be a good wine to bring for something like that.
And this was, you said, locally, harvest locally. Not harvest,
purchase
but
locally.
purchase.
I got both of my wines at Total Wine. When I'm going for 10 and under, that's, I don't go to my favorite spots. Total Wine's they've got a large selection of wines at that price point, so that's where I go.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a solid 3/4 thumbs up.
I'm gonna go thumb sideways.
Sideways? I'm gonna go a little higher.
Scale of 1 to 10, I'd give it maybe a C minus.
C minus.
Somewhere around there.
And I always go into, when I see Moscato, I think I'm just gonna hate it, but I don't hate it, so.
Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and dump this rest out.
Interesting first choice.
Okay.
Our next one is one of my favorites that I've been drinking for a number of years, actually. It's the Cava Mesa de Luz. It's a Spanish Cava Brut. It is available locally, and it's very reasonably priced, and it's actually a really nice looking bottle for the price point, which I think is between $7.99 and $8.99.
I got to tell you, Cava, one of the best bargains in wine that you can get, especially with the care that they put into making Cava. They make most of it in the same way that they make champagne, which is they ferment it in the bottle. A little more expensive to do it that way, but
people don't realize that.
It's always a pretty consistent product, yeah. I mean, I rarely have a Cava that I hate. Sometimes I have a Cava that's like, but I don't throw away the bottle,
When I first tried this, excuse me, I want to say about 4 years ago, I went into it thinking, well, how good is a $8.99 bottle of Cava going to be, a Brut Cava? Mm-hmm. And I was pleasantly surprised after doing some research, because I bought it cold and I did some research. It's actually pretty highly rated on Vivino. I think it's a 4-star on Vivino, so a lot of people do like it for the price point. Mm-hmm. And if you can pick it up on the camera, maybe not, there are a lot of nice little fine bubbles on there, which you sometimes, you're not going to always get with the cheaper stuff.
Yeah.
Especially in your larger flute, you can really see those bubbles there going.
That is a large flute.
That is a large flute.
The flute is not really the best vessel for smelling and tasting wine. It's more of a vision thing. But when you're drinking sparkling wine, it's kind of cool to see the bubbles.
People sometimes forget that. You're right. You really should drink bubbles in a regular wine glass. I mean, or an extra large.
I always do.
Bowl type thing.
Unless I'm entertaining guests, in which case you kind of want the.
You want to see it.
That whole feel of the flute glass and the coolness that everybody can see the bubbles. But when I'm drinking wine at home, I use a regular, typically like a white wine glass. If I've got one that I really want to get my nose in there, I'll use maybe like a New World Pinot Noir glass that's just a big globe, and it's got the opening at the top that you can really just smell everything.
Now, I know I've given this to you in the past. You probably don't recall it, but it's 11.5 volume alcohol. But it does drink a little bit more expensive than its price point, I think. It does have a little bit more character.
I think all Cava drinks better than its price point. The grape that Cava's made with, typically Macabeo and Xarello are the two grapes. There might be one or two that are thrown in there, versus Chardonnay, what they put in Champagne. Chardonnay is a little bit more expensive, especially when it's grown in the Champagne region, but this is what they grow in the Pendes region of Spain. It's typically very cost effective. If you've ever seen those same grapes, they actually sell one at Barcelona. I had the other day a Xarello flat, and it's one of the least expensive wines on the menu, and it was delicious. It's very lemony. It's kind of hard to taste what I taste in a flat wine when I taste a sparkling wine. Mm-hmm. They're just so different. Champagne doesn't taste like Chardonnay or Pinot Noir in the case that it's made with Pinot Noir as well. But this one, I would say it's just tart.
Actually, we haven't discussed really what the flavor profiles would be in case the audience is curious. I think our first one, because of the sweetness, I think it might have had a little bit more of a citrusy type.
It was citrusy, it was peachy, and it was just
peachy,
when
that's
I
a good
drink
one.
Moscato, I just get flowers. It's
Peachy is the right word too.
Yeah, it's definitely not like any kind of fruit that you would think of in, say, Chardonnay, or it's not necessarily like a lemon lime. It's citrusy, maybe a little orangey, like a nectarine kind of thing. But mostly the thing that I get once you get past the fruit with that wine is just the flowers.
Yeah,
like a bouquet in your face.
And I think the cava, you're hitting more on the traditional brut characteristics of a sparkling, maybe a little bit lemon, a tad bit of hay or grass, maybe a little bit of grass, or yeast is maybe the better word, yeasty type.
I'm trying to see if I can detect some yeast, and yeast is typically, I don't know how much time we have. I'm not going to get into what it means to age it on the lees, but it's basically the mechanism that goes into making wine. You have the spent yeast once it has converted everything into alcohol. Well, what they do with some of the sparkling wines, in particular with cava and champagne, is that they leave that in the bottle, and then they allow it to sit there, and the yeast do something called autolysis, which is they basically explode over time, and they release these flavors of bread and
yeah,
brioche.
that's it, yeah.
And I'm not getting a whole lot of that on this, so I don't know if it even was aged that way, and if so, how long, but I'm getting a little bit of it. And honestly, it could just be all in my head.
Yeah, and
from
also,
drinking so many cavas.
and once again, people, as we said in the past on the show, if you're having sparkling, you're gonna have a lot of people over, just a few people, serve salty treats, because it really goes well. I just tried a little bite of a pretzel, and it went beautifully. I didn't bring popcorn, which I always forget to do, because we always talk about popcorn and bubbles, popcorn and champagne. But it's the same principle. Anything that's salty, whether it's a chip or pretzel, it's really going to go pretty well with anything sparkling.
Yep.
So once again, this one is also local here in West Hartford. You can find this at a couple places. Just do a quick search. I think Park Road Wine and Liquors. I don't think Total Wine has it, but there's a few other places, at least in the area, that might. So, and that I think was around the $8.99, $9.29 price point.
Okay.
Right,
Very good.
point. So I'm going to give that thumbs up, because I buy tons of that and I have lots of it. So
I'm going to give that a thumbs up as well.
you really can't go wrong with it. Like you said, unless it's really bad. And how often have we really had a bad cava on the show? We don't think we've ever had a bad cava on the show, have we?
Now, every now and then you get cava that tastes kind of like a stinky feet thing going on. This one doesn't have the stinky feet thing going on.
You know, it's funny, Rocky. You weren't on the show way back when, but I've only had one bad bottle of sparkling on the show. It was a Russian sparkling. I think I told you about this, which is still sold. You can still find it in
Russian sparkling.
A Russian sparkling, yes.
I can honestly say in all my years of wine consumption, I have never consumed a Russian wine of any
because I was burnt 3 times with this.
Yeah.
3 times I was burnt with it. 2 times in the show, it was either flat or the bottle had gone bad.
Okay.
The same bottle, and there's only one available if you look at either Liquor Depot. I don't think Total Wine has it. Liquor Depot has it. A few of the other bigger wine shops has. It's a Russian bottle. It's in the champagne bubble section. You'll know it's Russian. I have not had the guts to buy another bottle. Not because it's expensive, but because I just don't want to get burnt again, because I've already had 3 strikes on it. But I think we will bring one on the show in the future to see if it's just me, if it's the bottles, or actually it's always flat when you open up a Russian champagne. Hey. It could be all those communists. I don't know. Maybe they just make things flat back at the time. They still make this, actually. But it was actually made back in the 20s and 30s as a celebration of, quote unquote, the regime. Okay. So Stalin sort of authorized the planting and this cultivation of the grapes in this brand of Russian champagne.
Well, if it's good enough for Stalin, it's good enough for me, Bobby.
Yeah, well, he's dead. So.
As far as we know, he's dead.
But anyways, we'll try that in a future show. But yeah, we're off to a good start. So both these, I think, can find a home in the average people's liquor, cellar, or refrigerator without a problem.
Okay.
So am I next or are you next? I think it's me again, right?
Yeah, you're next.
So this is a little, I want to say a gem, because it is a gem in my opinion. The Vouvet
Switch up my glass.
du Barre, Cuvée Prestige. And anything that's called a Cuvée Prestige, I believe, means it's the best in house, I believe, or the best that particular winemaker can make. So what is it? The Vouvet du Barre winery is known for producing some good bottles. This is their least expensive bubbles. And it is I want to say, the best way to describe this, because it's not a brut, it's probably in between I forget the 2 terms for dry wine. There's the brut There's the higher brut that's even more drier than a regular brut. You're trying to look for it too, aren't you? Were you trying to look for the location?
No, I'm going over the label. I believe Brute Nature.
That's it. Thank you very much. Brut Natural.
It's been a little while since I took my.
And you can't find a lot of Brut Naturals in the store. They're very rare. Not many people make them.
If you're looking for it, I guess.
Because that's drier than a Brut, correct?
So this is a cuvee, which means it's a mixture, I guess, of several things. I don't know what, but I guess we'll taste it.
I know this is the first time you've had this one, so.
Ooh, that's an interesting smell for French sparkling wine.
That's not got a lot of effervescence there, but it's dry. It's certainly not sweet. There is a little lemon in that, though.
That is tart. Ooh,
tart,
that's
lemony.
Got some kick. What is that? What am I tasting there?
And it's another interesting one because on Vivino, this is a 3.5 star for the price point. This is $7.99, and this is also available locally. It's probably the cheapest French sparkling you can get in the area, I believe.
I have to imagine that if it's a cuvee and it doesn't say the region, it's probably just from all over, wherever they wanted to source the grapes in France. 8.5% alcohol, so not too terribly high in alcohol.
Yep.
Won't give you a headache. What am I tasting on this, Bobby?
Yeah, it is a tough one.
I can't pinpoint the fruit.
The bouquet is typical French sparkling. I definitely, if you just stick your nose in there.
It's got a minerality to it, almost like licking a rock. And I can definitely taste some lemon, and I think some lime. Lime is not really a common tasting note for French sparkling wine, but I get a little bit of a lemony lime Sprite thing going on.
Well, and it's interesting you said, because this is why, once again, I wanted to do this kind of show, because these particular sparklings are made, in my opinion, for if you're hosting a big party. You don't want to have $20, $30 bottles of sparkling. I mean, you can, but if you want to just have a lot of sparkling out there it's not going to break the bank, this is certainly going to serve the bill. It's going to meet the demands of people's taste. And it's not overly sweet like our first one. People like me who like a sparkling, not a sweet sparkling, there's no problem with this whatsoever.
There's an interesting flavor to it. I can't quite put it. I want to say that it's almost got like an animal, almost like a kind
That's
of
a new one.
A barn thing.
I don't think Rocky likes it as much as me, which is perfectly fine. But I've had this one before, and even though it's not as bubbly, once again, we don't have the tall flutist glasses that we had before. Flutist, that's the wrong term. But there's a pleasantness that doesn't disagree with me. Now, this might not taste good at all if it's room temperature, though. This might be really meant just to be cold.
I don't think most sparkling wines taste good at room temperature, and this is one of the areas I typically drink my white wines way too cold. For that matter, I drink my red wines way too cold. But with sparkling wines, you really want to drink them cold. I just think that they're better that way.
There is an aroma, though, of a very typical French aroma.
There's an errant yeast called Brettanomyces that causes kind of like this almost animal quality to. It's very faint, but that's what I'm picking up on it.
You're talking about like a barnyard type smell?
Yeah, I don't think it's a taint, though. I think it's just one of those things that kind of makes its way in every now and then, and I'm just getting a little bit of that here. Not so much that I think it was a mistake, though. I think it just gives the wine some character.
Yeah, that's the whole point. Like I said, these are inexpensive sparklings. They're not going to be filled with highly intellectual tasting profiles, but there's a place for these, I think, in people's.
That's good, because we're not highly intellectual.
Well, that's true. That's true. And if we were, nobody would watch us. There's plenty of intellectual wine shows.
We like our bargains.
Yes,
that's what we're here for.
So I'm still going to stick to that as one of my top 5 for under $10, and it's certainly, in my opinion, better than Andre or Cook's. Though there's sometimes a place for Andres and Cooks.
Yeah, I can drink this. It's a little unusual for me. I can't quite put a finger on what it is, but
well, it's going to be great because you have a French coming up, so that's going to be a good comparison.
Side by side, and I just got off the boat from a cruise, and this is called, I don't know how it's pronounced.
Yeah, we're going to talk about Rocky's cruise in a moment.
It's been a long time since I had high school French. I read a lot of books, so when I'm reading labels, I don't know how most French terms, or for that matter, Italian ones, are pronounced, because most of my knowledge comes from reading books, and unfortunately, there's not a whole lot of books that are on Audible that are read aloud and can tell you how to pronounce these things. And I don't work in the industry, so that kind of also, there you go. I didn't overfill you there. All right, here we go.
That's probably one of our more traditional looking colored profiles too for bubbles.
Trying to look.
That golden, lightly golden straw hay type color.
Yep, it almost looks like champagne. It is 11% alcohol.
Yeah, I forgot how good that was. That's really good.
Not getting a lot from the nose, but it's delicate. Little flower, little.
It is our most effervescent, next to the cava, it's our most effervescent sparkling tonight. And this also has some of the more traditional characteristic flavors.
And this is a little more dry.
This is
a little more, I think that you can taste the effervescence more when there's not like a moscato bouquet of flowers and peaches slapping you in the face. And it's.
Look at the bubbles. I have a little tiny pour here. Look at the bubbles still zooming up from the bottom. No other sparkling we had tonight has done that. And
is this crystal?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. So I still.
Bobby brought the crystals tonight.
I no longer have.
That was nice of you.
Flout envy. I have the bigger flout right now.
Yes.
But you have the crystal.
I have the flout envy.
You have the crystal one. But this is probably my favorite. I'm gonna go right off the bat and say this is my favorite on the table tonight. And
I've never had this one. This one is.
Oh, you haven't had that one?
I've never had it. I'm gonna have it again though. I mean, for that price point.
What was the price point on that one?
I think like $10.50. Well,
so just slightly over the 10.
Somewhere between 10 and 11.
That's okay.
I don't know for legal purposes what we're allowed to say is the exact price.
That's perfectly fine.
Somewhere in the 10. It was right around 10. It might have been right at 9. Let's just say $9 to $11 price range. Definitely not north of 11. So.
Well, I know I've had this one before. It's been a while, but I instantly remember that I liked it. Mm-hmm. As soon as I tasted it, I said, yeah, I do remember. I did like this when I tried it. And it really is a damn good sparkling for the price.
What would you say is the fruit that is most prevalent in this?
I'm going to probably go with something like, on the mild side, pear, a very mild pear type flavor.
Yeah.
Subtle fruits, nothing that's too powerful. This is a very subtle sparkling.
I don't even know what it's made with. Blancs de Blancs, okay. So that would be, I guess, Chardonnay and Chardonnay.
Yeah, you're probably right, Chardonnay. But like I said, this is a really dry sparkling.
That's a pretty good bargain.
It's a great bargain. Huh. It's a great bargain. And I'm going to say right off the bat, like I said, that's my favorite for so far on the table tonight. So I got to ask you, Rocky. So you actually just came back on a cruise. Did you have a chance to have much sparkling on the cruise? I think the audience might be curious about your cruise.
What did they have? They had the Moet. So we get the package where you pay a flat fee. I believe it's like 68, somewhere between like $65 to $75. You can get a different price, but you pay a flat fee going into the boat for unlimited beverages. Whether they be adult or Coca-Cola every day. And so you get a price point up to $13 a glass. They had the Moet, I believe, for $12 a glass. So we were able to drink all of that we wanted, right? If you wanted to go to their higher end, it was called Moet and Shendan. Again, I don't know how that, I might be butchering the pronunciation, but that one's right around 20. Had a couple of glasses of that. I really didn't notice that much of a difference between them. But that was what we drank mostly for sparkling. They also had a Brut Rosé, which was very good. It was a little more expensive too. But I think we drank mostly just Pinot Grigio and, dare I say, Sauvignon Blanc from New Zealand.
Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that.
I have adopted Sauvignon Blanc from New Zealand. I used to hate it. Now I kind of love it. I don't know what happened.
It's funny you should say that because we both have been on vacation.
Embarrassed.
And I actually have lost my ability to handle the Marlboro Sauvignon Blancs. I could do a few sips. I cannot take them anymore.
They are.
I don't know if it's an age thing. I don't know what's happened to me.
My palate just changes and it goes back and forth. And usually also I can't drink red wines during the summertime. Obviously it's hot. We were in Nassau, Bahamas. You're talking about, pretty hot, July. And I was digging some red wines. I just, So
that's really surprising. You were able to handle the red wines even in.
And you know me, I can't stand red wines during the hot months. I drink mostly rosé and sometimes whites, but I was digging on the reds. I guess when it's kind of like all inclusive in the package, you just want to be like one of everything. Why not?
That's it.
I've got to wait. They make you wait 5 minutes between glasses, but if it's terrible, you don't have to finish it. You get another one.
That's not like you're driving anywhere, right?
Hopefully the captain doesn't wreck it into the rocks like that guy did a couple of years ago. But he got us home safe.
It's funny you should mention Moet. I don't think we've ever done a Moet even at even one of our parties around the show. We've never had a Moet on the show.
I don't really drink it that often, but it was one of 4 on the menu total. So I just kind of when I wanted something sparkling, that's what I went for.
And I tried one of the chips with your Creuset. Is it French Creuset? And it probably tasted the best with the sparkling tonight, that chip. So I think that's probably going to be one of my favorites. So all in all, if we're going to vote for best in glass tonight, there's only 2 of us. So the best in glass, I'm going with the Creuset.
By the way, we would like to apologize. We've done our last 2 shows with just the 2 of us. We decided that was by decision, not because nobody wants to be on our show. We actually wanted to just have a couple of shows where we could go back and forth and hammer some of these things out. I'm going to have to say for my best in glass is going to be the Creuset. Je ne parle pas français. I don't know how to speak it.
That sounded good to me.
I don't know how to say it. But is that your favorite too?
Yeah, I think that's my favorite.
So right here we got best in glass.
Mostly because it's the driest and it's the most effervescent. So people who are watching, if you want a dry, sparkling, very effervescent, you're drinking a sparkling. Some people will think they're even drinking a champagne. The Creuset probably offers that in a package that's very reasonable and affordable.
Yeah, it definitely does not taste like champagne, but
not
it is
champagne,
definitely good. So if I was going to say this is my favorite, what would be your second favorite?
My second favorite is the Vouvet de Barret, I think is the French one. But it's a close call between the cava, because I know that cava. I drink that cava quite frequently.
I'm kind of torn between that and the cava. I think these might be lined up.
Probably in the right order.
Preference, yeah. These 2 could be interchanged because cava's delicious.
So I think this is actually our cheapest wine show we've ever done on the show. I think this is our cheapest wine show.
Interestingly enough, the first time that I ever came on here, it was the Merlot show, and I did not realize that you kind of want to this is a consumer-driven show, and you want to put some wines out there that are in a price range that people can afford. And so I said, I'm gonna come in here with I believe it was the last of the Dave Finney when he was with The Prisoner. It was the Thorn Merlot. I paid
I love the
somewhere
Thorn.
around $45
That's right.
for it.
Yep.
And then you were like, wow. And I was like, oh, I overspent.
Yeah.
I haven't made that mistake again.
Yeah, the Prisoner wine makes some great stuff. And actually, we might have some. We only have about a minute left in the show. And as you people know, our 10-year anniversary is coming up in October. And we're going to have some surprises, I think, on the show for you. And I love the Prisoner winery. And I think I might have a Prisoner myself, one of their wines, whether it's the Stardo or the one with the little red label on it. I can't think of the name of it. But
those are some potent wines.
I think it's a Zinfandel, actually.
Very Zinfandel-driven, blends, things. But
that Thorn that you brought in, I remember that because I love that. I think I went out and bought one or two of them.
I don't even know if they make that anymore. I don't think that they do.
But this was a very informative show, so you now know that there's available sparkling wines under $10 in the area, so please feel free to give it a shot. And
if you want to learn more, check us out on the West Hartford Wine Club on Facebook. Search for WAST Hartford, and then as soon as you hit the W, it's going to be the first thing that comes up.
And Rocky's the man for that, along with Sandy. And like I said, stay tuned because our 10-year anniversary is coming up, and we're going to have some doozies for you. So for me, Bobby P.
Rocky H.
Keep us both in your wine cellar.